side, which you can start on your units to carry into the opposition half, and 1 in the center. And then the victory points at the end, 1 for each loot counter you hold, 2 for each one that you hold in a unit that's entirely in the opponent's half of the table. So when we rolled that, we found that we would have 2 loot tokens each, and of course the one in the center. And you can see the layout here. So there's quite a lot of terrain. There is a big impassable piece of terrain in the top left there. You can't see through the door. An impassable house, height 4 woods, 2 hills, some fields of flat, difficult terrain, and there are 3 walls around the place. There's one there, and there is another one somewhere, which I can't see right now, but I think there's a 3rd one out there somewhere. Okay, so you can see the layout. Got the elves on that side, goblins over here, of course. Immediately you'll notice that I am down to 2 rock lobbers in this list. I'm just trying out some different levels of tweakage to try and get the perfect balance to take on the maximum variety of opposing lists at Clash of Kings. So what we have a rabble horde, a spitter horde has come back in with fire oil. We have 3 troll hordes as usual, 1 with dwarven ale, 1 with chalice of wrath, 1 with the staying stone, which is a nice cheap option there for the trolls. 2 Fleabag Rider Sniff regiments again. We're up to 3 war trombones this time. Only 2 rock lobbers, as I said. Flaggett with the diadem of dragonkind. We have a wizard on foot with the inspiring talisman. 2 troll bruisers, one of which has the blade of slashing. The one with the blade of slashing will be represented by Harambe. And then we have a mincer as well. So no giant, only 2 rock lobbers. And you can see what kind of deployment I've gone for here. I've got, knowing I'm coming up against shooting from the elven side, I've put my 2 sniff units next to each other with the Flaggett inspiring them, because their nerve is low enough and their defense is low enough so they can potentially go down in 1 decent hit from enemy shooting. There are bolt throwers, and there are elven archers and chariots and various characters that all have shooting attacks. So I want to keep them nice and inspired to reduce the chance of them being dropped early. Next to them, also on this side, we've gone shooting heavy with the spitters and also the whiz with the inspiring talisman. So you'll see why I've gone shooting heavy on that flank in a minute. In the middle, also you can see that one of my loot tokens is on these archers, which you might think, well, archers aren't going to be moving forward that much, but we'll get to my grand strategy in a minute. We have trolls, supported by Harambe the Bruiser with one of the war trombones. We have trolls, another bruiser, and the mincer with a war trombone behind. You can see that I've got both the rock lobbers on this left-hand side of the table. Again, all will be explained shortly. Then we've got the rabble horde with the other loot token, another war trombone there, and trolls behind this wall, and the other rock lobber there. On the opposing side, this left flank looks quite tasty. We've got 2 of the flying heroes. We've got the Stormwind Cavalry, a Bolt Thrower, Silver Breeze Cavalry, Palace Guard. And then in the centre, there is a unit of Palace Guard and an Archer Horde and a Standard Bearer. And over on this side, we've got 1 Bolt Thrower in the corner and the Chariot Regiment. So there is also, as far as individuals, there's a Standard Bearer and there's also a Hunter somewhere. And there is Madriga the Elf, but I can't see them right now. So, oh yeah, there's I think that's either Madriga or the Hunter or Huntress, perhaps, has moved forward with a Vanguard move. And there's the other one. I think this one's the Hunter and that one's Madriga. And the Forest Shamblers as well have moved forward with the Vanguard move. So, you can see where the tokens are. One right in the centre there, and then confirmation of which units mine are on. For the enemy, the Archer Horde are carrying 1, same as mine, and one of the Palace Guard regiments are carrying 1. So let's go back to the overall picture before deployment, and I'll give you the lowdown on my grand plan. So, the loot token in this unit of Rebel, I'm not overly concerned about, because I am planning to win the game from kind of this point to the right. But I have to have 1 token over there just so the enemy have to actually focus something over here. So I want this token, which is why I've got lots of meat. I've got 2 troll hordes and 2 bruisers who are going to be arrowing in on this kind of area. We've got both rock lobbers with a sight at this area here. which is going to hopefully lock down this half of the board and stop enemies helping out from this side into this side, which is where I want to dominate. And then we've also got a couple of trombones over here to counter the flyers. The third trombone is here because they could easily reposition the flyers over there, but getting them all the way to this side would be a bit of a stretch to give them an impact on the game. And I still have lots of shooting over there as well. So there, on this side, the only combat threat with any speed at all is the chariot regiment. And I'm very confident that even if I don't go first, I'll be able to gun that down with ease with these 3 shooter units here with lots of shots. I've also got lightning bolt and I've got the diadem of dragonkind there. So that's the only real threat I'm concerned with here. I'm going to immediately, as soon as I get a chance, move my archers into the cover of this field, which is going to make them very difficult to shift. And if it comes down to an archer versus archer fight for supremacy, then I would ultimately lose that, most likely, but it would take a while, which is fine because my unit is much cheaper. And if he wants to waste his time shooting at my archers when I've got things like trolls, then that's fine by me. Over on this side then, so you can see the Mincer is also in position to help this point as well. So there is the token, I believe, is on this unit of Palace Guard there. So if the Elves end up keeping that one and stealing this one off me, that's fine because I want this one. And I'm very, very confident that at the end of the game, I'm going to be able to either keep this one on my archers or move them forwards, or one of these Fleabag Sniff units can come and pick that up quite easily if they do get killed. But my main aim is to steal the one off the archers there. So that would be in the opposition half, which I'm hoping to accomplish with Trolls, Bruiser, and these guys are going to be flanking in after taking out this little corner here. So they're going to be able to hopefully get into the flank. And I want this one as well. So not overly concerned about this side. Let's go on to the first turn then. Hopefully all that deep, deep strategy made sense to everyone. So I win the roll-off for the first turn. And I'm going to take first turn. It's not that much of an issue compared to my previous list because I only have 2 rock lobbers now. So if I happen to go second, I'm not overly panicked by that. But first turn is good because a lot of my stuff can shoot still. The Sniffs in particular are really good for taking the first turn because you can just move and shoot without any hindrance at all. Also, in this case, I would like to have had the first turn so I can get my archers into the cover as well. So I've moved everything up a little bit just to get in shooting range, apart from the diadem, who's just staying there to inspire. And I've put, I think it's 5 damage onto the chariot regiment already. So I should be able to kill them next time, hopefully. 1 damage onto the archers. So not much there, but that's what you expect when my archer horde were moving. So they were hitting on 6s, so only 1 damage there. This blob moving up. And up here, I've dipped the rabble horde into the woods. So they can see through the woods now, and everything else is just kind of moving up behind them. The trolls have jumped over the wall as well, which I'm not sure I would do again, because the reason I put them behind that wall was so that if anyone wanted to attack them, they could then make sure that that charge would be hindered by the wall. But when I didn't put any tokens on them and I didn't put any units over there to support them, it would be possible for the enemy just to completely ignore those trolls if they just sit behind the wall. So moving them forward now. Put a bit of pressure on the enemy. And the reason I want them to be able to see through the wall, see through the woods, is because no enemies can really charge them at the moment, apart from possibly that hero and these guys. So I've moved up definitely to within charge range of them. So if anyone wants to come and attack this unit with the token, they're going to have to actually commit to being in the woods, because if they just stay behind the woods, I can just back out of the woods again, or just pivot so they're no longer in the woods and they wouldn't be able to see me. So they've wasted a turn setting that up. So if they want to guarantee they're going to be able to charge anything through the woods, they'll have to dip their toe in there, which is going to leave them open to charges. So we'll see if anyone does that. Rock Lobber in the first turn puts 3 damage onto the Silver Breeze cavalry and wavers them. So that's a decent start. I've got damage where I wanted it on the chariots, and hopefully I'll be able to take them out next turn. And wavered an enemy unit, which is just a bit of a bonus. Turn 1 for the Elves. So the Forest Shamblers decide to go after the Trolls, which is it a surprise? Well, let's weigh it up. He could have gone for the Rabble, who don't have the ability to regenerate, but they have virtually no chance of being killed in one hit because their nerve is so high, but they are carrying a token. The trolls, if he gets really lucky, he could kill them in one hit, but he's unlikely to, and then they're likely to regenerate some of the wounds back that they take, and they're not carrying a token. So we'll see how that plays out. Over here, you can see that the Stormwind Cavalry and one of the monstrous flyers have positioned themselves on the flank, staring down. So this troll unit is in a bit of a tricky situation now, as I was saying. And this one has not gone into the woods, which means I can minimize the amount of multi-charging that can take place on this unit by just backing them out of the woods. So that means at least that unit wouldn't be able to see them. And I think this one probably would, depending on how I pivot them, of course. You can see the Palace Guard have moved up as well. And the unit of Silver Breeze, because they're nimble, are able to do a pivot and move backwards, which means the bolt thrower is going to be able to shoot now. So the bolt thrower, with the assistance from this hunter, I think, yeah, between them they only put 1 damage onto this rock lobber. Actually, the bolt thrower, no, the bolt thrower didn't shoot at that. That was just the hunter. The bolt thrower fired at the rabble horde, who were in cover because they're mostly obscured by the woods, and 1 damage, so it's a start. The archers shoot at the trolls that I've got on the right, and that's only 2 damage, so they're not concerned yet. The chariots move up onto the hill and put 1 damage onto the sniffs, which isn't going to be enough, and hopefully they're going to be toast next time. 1 damage onto the trolls from the forest shamblers, so if he's just trying to block them in and stopping them from multi-charging anything, then mission accomplished. On to turn 2 for the goblins now. So both my sniff regiments, should I say, have moved up, because the chariot horde, I'm expecting it to be dead because I've got the diadem to help out as well. All these 3 units are going to be targeting it, and possibly this wizard as well with his lightning bolt. So they're not worried about being in charge range of the chariots because they're hoping to kill it, and my archer is just going to shoot at another target. So what do? Oh, you can see the clocks there as well. They do kill the chariots as expected, so I've now got this flank totally free, whereas unless I get killed by a lucky bolt thrower shot, then I should be able to advance both these regiments forward and stare down into the enemy flank and commence with the phase of the plan. And you can see that this bolt thrower actually got wavered by this unit, I think, because I probably shot with this unit and the diadem first into the chariots, and I'd done enough damage so I felt I didn't also need to shoot them at the chariots. So I fired them at the bolt thrower and wavered it, which is a nice bonus. In the middle, you can see the advance. I've sent Harambe the Bruiser forward because on average, he should survive a charge from the Palace Guard. He should survive 1 round. So I'm quite happy for him to be there. He might become wavered as a result, but I'm not concerned about that because I'll be able to countercharge with the trolls. And if he doesn't charge in, then he allows Harambe to charge into either them or the archers, which he probably doesn't want. Then over here, these trolls that countercharge the forest shamblers have put 3 damage on them. And you can see, like I said, the rubble horde have just backed out of the woods, so that guy there won't be able to charge them. So also I've pushed the trolls up really far as well. So the trolls will not be in a position to be charged by... they will be in a position to be charged by the cavalry and possibly this hero as well. So I'm quite happy for them to eat that multiple charge, though, because at least something is going to leave itself open to a charge from the rabble then. One of the flyers means I'll be able to stop them flying. And like I said, I'm quite happy to throw away most of what's on this flank for the grand plan. And this bruiser is charged into the Palace Guard on his own. Not going to kill them, but again, I would expect to survive 1 round against them, which is fine because then I should be able to get the trolls in there to help. I've got the Mincer looking in this direction as well. That's going to be moving in to provide support in a minute. And I've got a trombone down here. And that's how it looks at the end of that turn. So turn 2 for the elves. Triple charge into the trolls. I positioned them so that they wouldn't be flanked by any of these things. So you never know, they might survive. And at least one of them was going to be hindered. However he set up this multi-charge, at least something was going to be hindered unless he didn't send in the knights. And that would be the only way that I could see the trolls definitely surviving if he only sent in the big flying beasties. Palace Guard back into the Bruiser, of course. These Palace Guard into Harambe the Bruiser. And the Forest Shamblers back into the trolls. Then the archers and these two, the characters have moved up. The archers, I think, have stayed put, but these two have moved. And they've shot into the trolls there, got them up to 8 damage. And these Palace-Guard waver Harambe, which is fine because he'll be able to back away and heal up when the trolls move in. And this bruiser gets wavered as well on only 4 damage. So that was a decent roll to waver him compared to this one, which was about right. Then here, 2 damage onto these trolls, which is fine. I'm expecting to kill those Forest Shamblers next turn. The Troll Horde do get killed by this triple charge. And this bird here is facing in that direction, which is going to leave his flank open to the Rubble Horde, which is something I'm definitely going to take advantage of. I'm not sure whether he just thought they were out of range or whether perhaps he thought he could set up a flank charge on something and didn't factor in the Rubble charging in. So there's how it looks around the center. I really want this token, and I'm still in pretty good shape to get it. You can see a lot of units are damaged on the Elven side. A little bit of damage just chipped away on all of them, so I'm hoping to clear out this area by the end of the game. And that's how these units make their final positioning here. The Knights have turned this guy over and forwards, allowing the Knights to have a bit more freedom in deciding which way they wanted to face, I think. And this one is still facing that way. So, turn 3 for the Goblins. I've moved my Sniffs forward. One of them is going to be shooting the Bolt Thrower. This one is going to be shooting either into the Archers or into that character there. Bolt Thrower is dead as a result of that shooting. The Trombone manages to kill the Standard Bearer, is the one I believe was there. So the Standard is dead, so that's an inspiring hero gone. And this one here, this is the unit that Harambe the Bruiser was fighting. Harambe stayed where he was, and then this troll unit charged in, and then Harambe backed away afterwards. So that's why the charge didn't slide all the way down. And the trolls waver this unit of Palace Guard in 1 round, which is enough. This Trombone goes for this Palace Guard unit, just getting them slightly more damaged. And this unit of Rubble that I decided to charge into the flank of that flying beastie, I killed that and then backed away, which meant that certain units didn't have a charge available. So with this Bruiser being there, this unit weren't able to get a charge onto the Rubble because I backed them up, so the angle wouldn't allow them to charge now. So I'm going to be charged by that thing, and the cavalry probably as well. But they could survive that because the cavalry will be hindered. Then with some shooting, I only put 1 more damage onto this Archhorde, but then roll a double 6 for the nerve, so they're wavered now. So that's a nice stroke of fortune. And as you can see, this flank is looking very, very healthy here. I've got units poised to strike into this Archer unit, which I'm hoping to kill by the end of the game. And I'm hoping to kill Madriga the Elf as well, so that my Archer unit can move forward pretty much unopposed into the enemy half with the token by the end of the game. But we shall see about that one. Even if they don't, they're still going to be scoring a point. Turn 3 for the Elves. So there's that charge as predicted. I left this flank open. I had to be charged by something, and I thought I'd rather take a flank charge from something that doesn't have that many attacks. And that'll make the Knights hindered as well. So a decent chance of surviving there. These Palace Guard have gone into this Bruiser again, who regenerated most of his wounds by the looks of it. The Mincer, you can see, is also poised to strike now. So if that unit does not kill the Rebel Horde, it's going to get charged by these trolls, and the Mincer can potentially get them as well. I think it might have a correct angle to do that, especially because if these guys survive, they could countercharge the bird, which would allow the Mincer to get in. So yeah, it would be possible. Over here, you can see that these wavered Palace Guard are just, I think they move back a little bit, which is going to prevent certain units having cover from shooting. These Silver Breeze Cavalry don't go onto the hill because they don't want to be charged by trolls there. Over on this side, Madriga has moved into position. I'm pretty sure this is Madriga the Elf anyway. And put some damage onto the Sniffs. The Silver Breeze Cavalry put some damage onto the Mincer. You can see someone's got the laser out there. So they got the flank of the Mincer, but they're not going to be able to remove it. And this Bolt Thrower puts more damage onto the Sniffs. So they're getting up there in damage now. Then the Hunter puts damage onto a War Trombone. The Sniffs become wavered. The Trombone becomes wavered. and the Bruiser is killed by the Palace Guard there. And this horde does go down. So you can see they only took 13 damage, which would have meant a roll of 8 was required to kill them. But obviously that was achieved because they're gone. There was no inspiring within range. And that is how they're positioned at the end. So, turn 4 for the Goblins. The Trombone and the Wizard, what have they done? Well, they have killed off, I believe there was a unit of Palace Guard there. They were heavily damaged. They were the wavered ones that moved backwards. So I didn't charge anything into them because I thought it would be a waste, because the Trolls wanted to be first to go over this way, and I'll show you why in a sec. Harambe the Bruiser charged into the Archers, which is going to stop them shooting. So these Trolls wanted to go onto the hill and pick up this token to stop the Silver Breeze cavalry being the first to grab it, pretty much. The Trombone here wavers this unit of Palace Guard, which were heavily damaged, which is going to prevent them charging the Trolls that just picked up the token. And over here, the Knights that were in the woods after killing the rabble were charged by the Mincer and the Troll Horde. It was the Flying Beastie that picked up the token from the rabble, though, so he's able to escape with that. And I'm going to have a tough time catching him now. Over here, I've got one unit of Sniffs who have moved into position behind the Archers, which means they can charge in there in a minute, hopefully. And if they're charging in the rear, of course, there'll be no need for a yellow-bellied test. So you can see how it looks at the end of that turn. And the plan seems to be coming together quite nicely. I've picked up that token in the middle, which was part of the goal. This unit is looking fairly untouched because there's nothing there to really attack them anymore. And I'm going to kill these Archers at some point soon and steal their token, which will be firmly in the opponent's half. So really, I just want to make sure this token goes that way. And I've got lots of shooting attacks around here. I've got Wizard, I've got Trombones all over the place to finish off these two units. And then after that, it's looking like a pretty clean sweep, but you never know. So you can see here, turn 4 for the Elves, that these Sniffs have been finished off as a result of, I think it's Madriga the Elf there. Back here, a Trombone is killed off by the Hunter. I'm not sure if it's the Hunter or the Huntress. I'd have to check the Elven list. And you can see some movement that's gone on. This unit was wavered, so they couldn't do much. The Silver Breeze have moved up to there, and they are going to shoot at the Sniffs there, but I don't think they did anything to them. Over here, the Flying Beastie has moved out of the line of sight of one of the Rock Lobbers, and it's just going to try and hide with that token for the rest of the game now. Harambe doesn't really take much of a beating from those. Now, there is a tiny piece of difficult terrain poking out the back of this unit, so you'll see how I deal with that in a second. There's how it looks, though. There wasn't much to do in the Elven turn due to that unit being wavered. So it's looking very, very healthy for the Goblins at this stage. Turn 5. So I've moved these Archers forward now. So they couldn't move out the double because they were in difficult terrain. So I'm just starting their advance because there's nothing for them to shoot at. So if we get a turn 7, I'll definitely be able to get into the other half, hopefully. Turn 6, I might. This Trombone puts some damage onto the Silver Breeze cavalry, but not enough to kill them off. And here, Harambe in the front, I used this guy here to sit behind this Flaggett, to sit behind the Archers, which meant that when the Sniffs charged into the rear, they weren't able to slide down into this tiny corner of difficult terrain, which would have hindered them and made it a really terrible charge. So used him to block that up, and then the rear charge was enough to put overall 11 damage, so required a big roll to kill them, but I did get a double 6. So that's the second time that unit had a double 6 rolled on them. The first time to waver them, this time it actually kills them. So very, very nice there. But even if that hadn't resulted in them dying this turn, they weren't long for this world anyway, because they weren't going to be able to kill both those units, and they would have been toast the next time, most likely. So there they are, dead. This unit of Trolls here charged into the Palace Guard that were holding the loot token for the enemy on that side. So a nice little bonus here. I've managed to pick that up. They're the ones that became wavered last time as a result of a War Trombone. So I was able to take that off them. So this Troll unit is now going to march into the opposing half in the last couple of turns, hopefully, with 2 tokens, which is a nice bonus. And the Mincer has just moved over there to threaten in case this guy wants to charge a Rock Lobber. He's going to get minced. So there's how it looks at the moment. And it's looking good. This unit has 2 tokens in the opposition half. This Harambe has 1 token, which he stole from the archers. The archers have a token, and the enemy just have that one in the corner there on the flying beastie. And the only unit of theirs that could even hold a token, other than that, is the Silver Breeze cavalry. So if they want to charge into difficult terrain to attack Harambe and try and steal that, maybe. Their other option is to try and go for a draw by killing my loot-carrying units. So if they kill Harambe with shooting, if they kill these trolls with shooting, because they do have a bolt thrower left, then we shall see. But it's looking very good for the goblins. Turn 5 for the elves. So the Silver Breeze, they try and kill Harambe, who's carrying a token. They manage to waver him. The bolt thrower manages to waver these trolls that are carrying 2 tokens as well. So they're racking up damage, and they're going to have another turn to try and kill them. So you never know. And then this guy just hides right in the corner, almost falling off the table. And that was a very, very short turn for the elves. So you can see how it's looking now. Really, I just need to avoid Harambe and this unit of trolls dying, really, to win the game. And you can see that Madriga has sat right in front of the spitters as well now. So turn 6 for the goblins. Time's ticking away. There isn't that much time left on the clock now. There's been lots of line of sight working out in this game. So the trombone manages to waver the Silver Breeze, which should be enough to win the game now because there's so little shooting left for the enemy. And I try to kill this huntress with the trombone, but don't manage to kill it. I waver another shooting attack in Madriga the elf as well in combat to try and get these guys past. But they're being blocked in, but they're still holding a token, and that elf there is not going to do anything at all now. So that was the end of my turn 6. So this unit didn't do anything, just sitting there with 2 objectives. Harambe sitting there with 1. These guys sitting there with 1. So let's see, is it even possible? I suppose it is possible for the elves to still get a draw if this huntress kills the trolls with a shooting attack and the bolt thrower kills Harambe in cover. So it's still possible, but unlikely. Turn 6 for the elves. So the huntress moves up, puts up to 7 damage on the trolls, and they're carrying 2 tokens, but isn't able to kill them. The bolt thrower manages to waver Harambe again. So that's the end of the game. The roll for whether there's a turn 7 is a 2, so there are no more turns. The game is over, and it's a decisive victory for the goblins, which is a big improvement on last time. You can see the elf list was tweaked as well. The goblin list, the main tweaks were taking out some of the rock lobbers, bringing in more unit strength, more loot carrying units, and a bit more inspiring, although the inspiring wizard didn't really inspire anybody throughout the game, so he didn't need to have it particularly. So 2 points scored for the elves. The goblins have 4 there, 2 for Harambe, so that's 6, and 1 for these guys, so that's 7. So 7-2 to the goblins, and quite a satisfying result, I would say, overall. There's how it looks. Not many elves left. There's a bolt thrower, a couple of heroes, and the troop of Silver Breeze cavalry. The goblins have got 2 troll hordes left, 2 trombones, the mincer, both rock lobbers survived, 1 unit of sniffs. The bruiser Harambe is still alive, the other one died. The spitters are still alive, and the flagget survived as well. So overall, I think this is a very much improved list, although the rock lobbers only actually scored 1 hit over the course of the game. I think between them, they fired around about 10 times. So 1 in 10 is way below what you expect for the rock lobbers. They should be hitting once every 3 turns, really, unless you're shooting at individuals, which I don't think I was. Maybe once I shot at an individual, but there was a poor performance from them. And it's tempting me into leaving them out entirely and bringing the giant back in and having 0 rock lobbers at all, which is seriously tempting. Having 2, it's not as many points committed into artillery that might miss, and it's not so dependent on getting the first turn because I've got half as many points invested in them. But on the other hand, they can't score objectives, and would it be nice to have a giant in there for a bit of speed 7? And he's got some nice special rules as well. Or do I replace them with some cheap regiments, perhaps? Spitter Regiment, Rabble Regiment, who are got higher unit strength, can score, take objectives, and so on. But then I have less threat in the shooting department. I think I'm quite well stocked with shooting with the 3 big units I've got. I've got the Spitters, And the 2 units of sniffs are nice mobile shooting platforms. The war trombones and the diadem of dragonkind are nice medium to short range shooting. So it's something I definitely have to think about. I'll probably try out a game with no rock lobbers, and maybe with the giant brought in there. I'll have to mix up some of the items because the points aren't exactly the same. I'll probably have to take out the inspiring talisman from the wizard. Nearly called him a lizard there. From the wizard, which didn't come up in this game much anyway, which does leave me quite short of inspiring. So depending on the opposition, I may have to do what I did in this game, which is put the sniffs together with the flagget next to them to inspire them. And that means he's my only source of non-troll inspiring there. So things like the giant and the mincer would very rarely be inspired under those circumstances, which is a risk I may decide to take or may not. We shall see. I could also put another standard bearer, another flagget, maybe on foot in there, in place of a wizard. We shall see. I'm going to do further tweaking. Let me know what you think in the comments. I may put up this video very shortly before the tournament, just so people can't digest my tactics too much on the eve. But I think people know virtually what to expect from my lists. If people were expecting quadruple rock lobber, maybe they'll be met with that at Clash of Kings. Maybe they'll be met with 0. It's still up in the air at this stage, still tinkering around with it. But this list was definitely more successful than the last one. I've got more unit strength, more ability to carry tokens, and overall pretty good. Let's just scroll back through here. The bruisers I like. They're difficult to shift. They're nimble. And they inspire the trolls, of course, which is a bonus if you keep them around them in combat. The 3 trombones, I noticed the difference between 2 and 3 war trombones. I think 3 is definitely the way to go. The flagget, the holy hand grenade is cheaper, but so unreliable. I think I'm liking the diadem a bit more, even though the grenade is potentially better in certain situations with its piercing. It just doesn't hit often enough for my liking. And if I'm taking out some of the random elements, for example, I don't have many goblin units that are going to be charging in the front with yellow-bellied. There's just the mincer and the rabble horde, really, because the sniffs are very rarely going to charge anything in the front. And even if they do, and they fail the yellow-bellied test, then they can still shoot, because it just means you issue a halt order. So it's really, the yellow belly is seriously mitigated on the sniffs, even if I'm charging them into combat. So if I'm taking out some of the random elements, that would mean the rock lobbers and the grenade are things that wouldn't make the cut, because quite often they're going to miss. And the main combat units, if we end up with 3 troll hordes, possibly a giant, there's no yellow bellied in that. The 2 troll bruisers, of course, don't have it. The goblin units are mainly shooting support. So we shall see. I'm going to continue tweaking away, trying to get the best possible list. This list is actually ideal for my attempts to get the best placed Mantic army award, because I think there's only 1 non-Mantic model in this army, so it would definitely qualify for that award. I think Harambe is the only non-Mantic thing here. So as far as that goes, this would be a good list to take. Because, of course, as you know, my dream is to finish 11th at Clash of Kings, but all the 10 players above me failed to bring 90+% Mantic armies, so I qualify for the America trip prize, which would be nice. Of course, everyone's dream is to win Clash of Kings, but you have to have a lot of things go in your favour. There are certain players that you would really have to avoid because they're just so good and the lists they take are so good. And whenever you do come up against someone good, you have to hope it's a scenario that favours your army and not theirs, rather than the other way around. And of course, you need lucky dice rolls as well over 6 games. If you don't have a bit of luck on your side, eventually you're going to lose a game, and you'd expect the person who wins the tournament to probably win all their games. I think you could probably afford to lose 1 game and still have a chance of winning, but I'm not so sure about that, because there are some players that are so good, they seem to just steamroll everybody. So you may have to have almost a perfect performance to have a chance of winning the tournament this year. We shall see, though. You never know. People could have a bad day. Could have a few upsets, unexpected results, putting people in interesting positions. With 6 games, there is always the possibility that lots of players could be finishing around about level points, despite losing a game or 2. So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping for, as long as I win more games than I lose, that's usually what I'm going for in these tournaments. That's the ambition, and I think I'm good enough to do that, unless I come up against really unfavorable matchups, like nothing but stealthy when I've got lots of shooting, for example. That would be difficult. And we're almost back to the beginning of the pictures now. So let me know your thoughts. I want to see more comments. I don't want to see just comments of people complaining of rules that were wrong. Like in the last game, we got a little detail on the scenario wrong, which luckily didn't affect the outcome. But I think that was one of only 2 comments so far at the time of recording this video. So I want comments, folks. I want thoughts on the lists. I want thoughts on the strategies that were in play. I want your thoughts on heading into Clash of Kings. What kind of lists you think will do well. And don't forget to check out the links in the description. Don't forget to throw lots of money at me via Patreon and other fundraising methods. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to check out my Facebook group for all the latest Orange goodness. And I'm going to go and try and arrange another practice game or 2 before the grand tournament. So with that, all that remains to be said is good night out there, whatever you are.